My twin slept with my girlfriend and outed me, so I let him die. I, Ryan, and my twin brother Sebastian have never ever been close. In fact, he made life hell growing up and my parents didn't help by playing favorites, getting him better stuff on our birthday, only going to see films he liked at the cinema and giving him extra money for housework despite us doing the same amount of work. He would always put me down, belittle me, bully me with his friends at school, break my stuff and then blame me and was just a pain in general. Growing up the only people I knew to rely on was my older sister Jane, my cousin Kai and best friend Isaac who all knew what an awful person my brother was. Anyway, cut to when I was 17 and I had my first girlfriend, someone I loved very much. We didn't make love because she wanted to wait till her 18th birthday to lose her card, but it turns out that she was having an affair with my brother behind my back for half the time we were together and only got caught when it was revealed she was pregnant. I was crushed. She knew how much I hated my brother and she saw some of the awful things he did to me, but she still went and did that. Cheating is bad enough, but to do it with him of all people. I whacked him in the face and broke his nose and made him lose a tooth, but according to my parents I'm the one in the wrong and now we have to help this girl who is carrying my brother's child and have to help support them. My brother then said he had no intention of being a father and told my girlfriend to get an abortion. She then ran out of town and I never saw her again. Don't know if she had the baby or aborted, all I know was that she was gone and my folks were still praising my brother as the golden child. I was still the black sheep and failure as usual. Another year goes past and me and my brother still despise each other, but I had started dating again. Was a long while but I found someone. Found a boy I liked. I am bisexual and this new guy Daniel I had met at college caught my eye. He was deaf and I studied sign language out of boredom, so we got talking and things just seemed to click. We date, fall in love, bring him to my friend Isaac's party to introduce him to friends and all feels great. At this point the only one who knew I was bi was Isaac, but one day walking into a cinema holding my boyfriend's hand I bump into my evil twin. He points, laughs and says some homophobic remarks. I tell him to go F himself and I go see a movie with my arm round my boyfriend. When I got home after dropping my boyfriend home I knew I'd be facing something as I walked through the front door. I saw both my parents on the sofa, my mother crying about how on earth could she have given birth to someone so disgusting. Was it too much to hope she saw the light and was talking about my brother? But nope, she was talking about me and how I'm a stain on our family's name. My father gets up to yell at me, spout homophobic remarks and slurs. At this point I see my brother up the staircase with a grin on his face. He then comes down and says he's uncomfortable with sharing a room with a F slur, and my folks kick me out there and then, with what little clothes and money I had, I went to Isaac's house and his family took me in where I stayed for 6 months actually experiencing familial love and affection. And Isaac's mother and stepdad I consider my own parents now. Eventually me, Daniel and Isaac all get a 2-bedroom flat together and all is good for the time being. So cut to December last year. Me and my boyfriend now husband Daniel are married. Isaac was my best man. My sister and cousin Kai walked me down the aisle. I have a brilliant job in graphic design, have my own house by the sea and life has never been better. However, I got a call from my sister that my brother was in the hospital. I hadn't thought about him that much over the 9-year period since I was kicked out, but being reminded of his existence brought up a lot of painful memories for me. I was told by my sister that Sebastian wanted to see me and that it was urgent. So I went to the hospital he was in and met my sister outside the front entrance. I ask her what this is all about, but she doesn't tell me and that I need to ask my twin. So I arrive to where my brother is, who have my parents at his side, and my folks actually look happy to see me, as if what they did to me hadn't happened, and Sebastian also looked really pleased to see me. It's safe to say something was off. Eventually I ask what's going on and why was I even here, to which my brother tells the family to leave us two alone. He looks so weak as before he used to intimidate me so much. He told me that he was dying from kidney failure and has been for the past few years, but now he didn't have long left. I knew immediately where this was going. He then said he always regretted that we never got along, at which point I told him, no. He looked confused and asked what I was on about, so I simply told him I wasn't going to donate my kidney to save him. He looked as if I had just pooped in his food. He then went on about how bad the situation was and that he really was sorry for all the things we did to each other growing up. Like, excuse me? We did to each other? I told him that I just wanted a brother growing up that cared and loved me, who wouldn't try and break me every day for 18 years. He then called in our mom and dad and told them that I wasn't going to give up my kidney. They then started to spout off that I owed them for my existence and that I have a duty to look after family. I asked them where that duty was when they kicked me out of the house, or where that duty was every time my brother gave me a black eye, or their duty was to look after their grandchild when Sebastian decided he didn't want to be a father. I said for all the things he's done, from outing me to having an affair with my girlfriend and abandoning his child, that this was the universe's and my way of finally giving back what he dished out to bite him in the arse. I then turned around and walked out of the room, having that be the last time I ever saw Sebastian again. Not sure why they'd want a gay kidney anyway. I walked past my sister, who gave me a look. I gave her a look back, who then in turn gave me a look that said, I understand. After leaving the hospital, I felt as if a great weight had been taken off my shoulders. I went home and never looked back, pleased with my decision. Now last week I get a call from my sister calling to inform me that Sebastian had died. She asked if I was okay and I said I was, that I didn't really feel anything in all honesty. She said she understood to a degree, as Sebastian hadn't been all that kind to her over the years either. I had my husband and Isaac there to support me. Honestly, at this point Isaac may as well be our adopted child, since he's living with us till this whole situation with the world is over. The next day I was getting calls and texts from family members I hadn't spoken to in years, telling me that I'm going to hell for being a bad son, being a bad brother, and for being gay, and that me and my husband don't deserve children. Hubby and I have been looking into adoption and surrogacy. This makes me second guess my choice of not giving my brother my kidney. Even in death he's making things harder for me. I did wonder if I was a bad person and if I made the wrong decision, but I knew that if I was in that position I would have been left for dead. Screw him.
10 years ago, I gave dating advice to an incel and still think about him. So this happened when I, now 30 female, was in college on OkCupid. I was messaged by an incel-looking guy. In his profile picture he wore a fedora, had a beard, was overweight, etc. His opening message was something along the lines of, "I know there's no way you'd ever be into me, but you seem really cool." I knew I wasn't interested in him romantically, but I checked out his profile because I was also looking for friends and wanted to see what we had in common. What I saw on his page broke my heart. Just paragraphs of him saying self-deprecating things about how he's lame or ugly, or a loser that no one would ever want to date. He was practically apologizing for existing. I think what hurt the most was knowing a lot of what he wrote down was probably said to him in the past, and as someone who's been bullied before and also had self-confidence issues, I couldn't turn a blind eye. I replied to him and politely told him I'm not interested in dating him, but asked if I could give him some advice for his profile. He agreed to hear me out and I began typing away. I think I spent a solid 15 to 30 minutes writing my reply. I explained that if you write paragraphs about how much you think you suck and aren't fun to date, people will believe you and not give you a chance. I said he should try to talk more about his interests and what he likes to do so that he's more likely to appeal to someone with the same interests and hobbies as him. I emphasized that he should try and put his best foot forward and talk more about his good qualities, being a good friend, or a good listener, or open-minded, etc. Once I clicked send, I waited for his response with bated breath. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of, "Honestly, I was expecting you to tear me apart and make fun of me, but this sounds genuinely helpful. Thank you." We wished each other luck and never spoke again. It's been over 10 years since that exchange happened and I frequently wonder what happened to him. I've been thinking about him a lot more since the rise of Alpha Bro podcasts and the Manosphere. I want to believe he tried working on his self-confidence issues and was able to move forward, but I also know that people online are mean, and there was definitely a culture of making fun of people in fedoras with neckbeards even if they weren't pulling the milady crap. I know that even if he's on Reddit, the odds of him finding this post are slim to none, but if you're a guy who wore a fedora in Maryland or DC 10 years ago and got online dating advice from a lady who was an art major, I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're doing better. I hope you learned to love more about yourself, and I hope you found love too. What's the craziest thing you've overheard on a plane? Not something I overheard, but something semi-interesting nonetheless. I once went and got sushi with my mom and I noticed a guy and a girl at another table very clearly on their first date. They were both dressed very nice, lot of awkward laughter. The guy was being ultra gentlemanly, like pulling her chair out for her, just the usual stuff that tips an observer off that they were still very much getting to know each other and wanting to make a good impression. Fast forward 2.5 years, I was boarding a plane in Atlanta, Georgia, heading to Colorado with my brother to go skiing when I saw the same couple seated near the back of the plane. I was in the row directly in front of them, so when I put my bag up, I turned to them and said, "This is going to be super weird, but did you guys have your first date at XYZ sushi place?" They both got wide-eyed in shock and laughed and told me that they had in fact had their first date there. I told them I was there that night and just happened to recognize them when I boarded the plane. It was friendly and we chit-chatted for a bit. They were going skiing at the same place we were, so it was cool and all. Day 2 of our trip, my brother and I decided to go to the top of the mountain and take a few of the more advanced slopes down to the bottom. There were maybe a dozen or so people up there, and before taking off we decided to look at the trail map to make sure we were going to get back to where the shuttle could pick us up without having to hike our gear for 2 miles. About 20 feet away from us, a guy got down on one knee and proposed to his girlfriend, and everyone clapped as she jumped up and down with excitement and said, "Yes." They took off their helmets and goggles to kiss, and it was the same freaking couple. I literally was there for their first date, met them for the first time on a plane purely by chance because I was sitting in front of them, and was present when he proposed to her. I assume they're still married because at the rate we're going, I'm probably going to run into them again if one of them decides to file for divorce.
I needed to tell my friend he was being excluded from our group. My friend invited everyone over for dinner last night and he was excited. He made homemade spaghetti and garlic bread and baked chocolate chip cookies for our entire group. There are 9 of us in the group and for whatever reason they never invite him to hang out or do things with our group. Either I or another person will invite him, but most of the time he is on his own. I was going to his dinner but I was going to be late since I had to pick up my dad from the airport. He asked everyone to come at 5 p.m. but I was not going to arrive until 6:30 to 7 p.m. I got to his house at 7 p.m. and he opened the door but only one other person was there. They were sitting at his kitchen counter watching a baseball game and he had all the food on the counter. I asked him where everyone was and he said they either canceled last minute or had not shown up yet. We decided to wait another hour for people to arrive but no one came and we ate in near silence. After we finished he got up and cleared the table and while he was in the kitchen I leaned over to the other person and said we needed to tell him that the group excludes him from events. She was hesitant at first because she did not want to hurt his feelings but I countered by saying it was obvious that the people he considers friends do not feel the same about him and she was convinced. We walked into the kitchen and asked him to sit down. He sat down and we told him that the other people canceled because they did not want to come. For reasons unbeknownst to us they never asked him to hang out and he deserves a group of friends who will appreciate him. My friend told him that there is a separate group chat he is not part of that is considered the actual group chat. This took me by surprise because I was not aware of this group chat. She told him he is a good looking guy with a bunch of interests and there is a ton of people out there who would enjoy hanging out with him. He was silent for a minute, then thanked us for telling him. He has been feeling ostracized from our group and admitted that he planned the dinner to see who would come. We were the only two who showed up and he appreciated us showing up and giving him a feeling of friendship. My friend and I said we want to continue being friends with him and he felt the same. We ended up talking for an hour and he sent us each of us home with a big bowl of spaghetti. The spaghetti was delicious and I even have enough for tomorrow. I checked Instagram tonight and he unfollowed everyone in the group but me and my friend. I am considering unfollowing them as well. The whole exclusion from the group chat thing is on my mind and I wonder what they have said about me. My friend is safe. We have known each other since our freshman year of college and she has never given me a reason to not trust her. I hope my friend finds a group of people for him. He is a very nice person and someone is going to want to spend time with him.
I have decided to leave my husband without a word. We got married in our early 20s and are now in our mid-20s. We met as freshmen in college and graduated 3 years ago, but tonight was the breaking point. I had already developed an exit strategy before this incident, and I initiated it 20 minutes ago, just after he went to bed. What was the final straw? He damaged my self-esteem one last time, making me feel as though I was irreparable to him, as though I wasn't worth the effort it would take to mend what he had broken. We've been trying to work on our marriage, but after a trivial argument over what I was going to wear for an outing, I was completely ready except for choosing my outfit. He said to me, "No matter what you wear, you're still going to be the same fat person." We still had 2 hours before we needed to leave. So, how is my exit plan unfolding? 1. I know his cruel words will be his last to me because he will leave for work in a sour mood without uttering a word. 2. I have arranged for movers to arrive at 9 a.m. for a rush pack of my belongings. 3. I will leave the divorce papers on his side of the bed, already signed by me, along with my lawyer's contact information. 4. A close friend will take me to the airport under the pretense of me visiting family. In my new city, I have an apartment and a new car waiting for me. I have a new phone number with a local area code, and I have removed him from my credit cards and myself from his. I have diligently gone through all our transactions to figure out what money in our account is mine. I've left a copy of this breakdown in the stack of divorce papers. Most importantly, I have collected screenshots of him liking and commenting on other women's posts, pointing out that my body would never match theirs and that they're what he wants. I'm 5'2" and weigh 135 pounds, and I carry a bit of weight on my stomach due to an eating disorder, a vulnerability he used against me. Only my family, who live in my new city, know about this. They even purchased my plane ticket to avoid any suspicious transactions. I'm tired of feeling inadequate. I am financially independent and have used my degree to great success. I refuse to endure any more abuse. My boyfriend wants to break up with me because of my lack of bazookas. Some weeks ago, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. It's not too late, but it could have been diagnosed earlier. Still, radiation and chemotherapy is needed, and we're worried about her. When she got diagnosed, in tears, she finally told me something I didn't know. My grandma passed away from breast cancer, almost at the same time my aunt did. I have 5 aunts, 6 if I count the one who passed away years ago, and all of them got checked. 2 of them even found some early bumps who without much struggle they got rid of. The others still need to check every couple of months, my cousins too. She told me this so I can get checked immediately. I was, and still am, pissed at her. She decided not to tell me that cancer is something that apparently runs through our family, and waited just because she's the one suffering now. She said she was in negation, and that she never thought it would happen to her since she got checked only once and everything seemed normal. I got checked and, yes, you guessed it, I have a high risk of getting breast cancer. One of my cousins also had very high risk of breast cancer, so she decided to extirp her chest and deal with the problem right away. I talked with her and she didn't encourage me to follow her steps, but I asked, and she answered, and that's how I ended up deciding to get a mastectomy for my own health. My mom surprisingly was very accepting of my decision, and we both agreed with the pros and cons of the surgery. Here's when my boyfriend enters the scene. He was with me the whole process, from my mom's diagnosis to my own, and he was with me all the time, reassuring me that he's with me and he's on my side so no matter what I want to do, but getting a double mastectomy wasn't part of deal, I guess. When I told him to say goodbye to my bazookas because they're gonna leave eventually, his face dropped. Really? Was the one first thing he said. I explained to him everything, how my cousin also got a mastectomy and how it's not 100% sure that I'm going to be cancer-free, but it's the best option for me and the one I decided to pick. He said, "Oh, cool, I guess." He seemed in shock and tried to play it off, but I could feel the shift on his attitude and eventually I felt so uncomfortable I had to leave his house. This morning I woke up to some screenshots from one common friend we have, and said he cannot hide this from me knowing how in the wrong my boyfriend is. My boyfriend basically said that he looked up aftermath photos of mastectomies and he's grossed out by the scars, and how weird and masculine my chest is gonna look like after it. He said that he loves me and my body, but he's a bazooka guy and that the fact that his perfect girl is now gonna lose the best part of herself, it's a big turn-off for him. After explaining his dumb reasoning, he also asked my friend on how to bring this up to me without looking like a jerk, but my friend called him out and told him that there's absolutely no way to explain his reasoning without looking like a jerk, and my boyfriend decided to suck it up and just not bring it up to me ever, and that eventually he's gonna find an excuse to break up with me without making it obvious. I'm devastated. My life is literally in danger and his biggest worry is that he's not gonna be able to touch bazookas again? What? My surgery is in 5 days. I'm nervous and now I'm depressed because the person who supposedly supported my decisions is planning on how to break up with me, because I decide to look up for my health. He's an idiot, a dumb childish idiot, but still he managed to twist and add an insecurity that wasn't there. I didn't mind the operation, I couldn't care less not having bazookas again, but now all the thoughts of scars and blood, and the masculinization of my body is taking a toll on me. I just wanted to vent here, that's all.
My girlfriend lied about being autistic and I am so grateful and so ashamed. So I'm on the spectrum, recently diagnosed at almost 30 years old. I'm glad to have language and answers for my life experiences, but I've been struggling with a lot of shame around my diagnosis and it's really hard for me to be honest with people about it. My girlfriend knows I'm autistic, and she is an absolute angel about it. We were out to dinner last night at a ramen restaurant, and were initially seated at the counter. Normally I can handle myself well in public, but there was so much noise and light and conversation that I started to panic, and I ran off to the bathroom to compose myself. While I was gone, my girlfriend spoke to the waitress and had us move to a table in the corner. I was so overstimulated still, but the table was such a better environment for me. We had a good time in the end, and all was well. Towards the end of the night my girlfriend confessed that while I was in the bathroom, she told the waitress that she was the one on the spectrum, and that she was getting overstimulated and would benefit from a change in seating. I am so grateful to have a partner who understands my needs and advocates for them. She even understands my shame and embarrassment I'm still grappling with, but I'm so upset with myself for not being further along with my self-acceptance journey. I'm so ashamed that I can't just accept this part of me, and be open about it. I need to double down on working on myself, and I need to spoil this woman rotten in the process. Sometimes I feel like she is too good for me.